The massive chamber held representatives from across the galaxy. Hundreds of different alien species sat in rows that stretched up toward the curved ceiling. Each species looked different from the others. Some had scales, others had fur. Some walked on 2 legs, others on 4 or 6. But they all had one thing in common today. They wanted to talk about the humans. Ambassador HFY stood at the center of the room. His body looked like it was made of living crystal that caught and reflected the lights from above. He was old even by the standards of his people, the Threnodi. His kind lived for thousands of years, and he had spent most of his life studying other species across the galaxy. The room buzzed with excited chatter. The topic of today's meeting was simple: what to do about humanity. These strange creatures from a small blue planet had only been traveling in space for about 200 years. That was nothing compared to most species in the room, who had been exploring the stars for thousands of years. General Vorthak of the Vaxan Empire stood up. He was massive, with 4 powerful arms and skin like metal armor. His people were known throughout the galaxy as fierce warriors. "These humans are weak," he said, his voice booming across the chamber. "They have no claws, no natural armor, no poison. Their ships are simple, and their weapons are basic. We could crush them easily." Many aliens in the room nodded their heads in agreement. The Zealoth representatives hissed their approval. The Zealoth looked like giant snakes with arms, and they controlled hundreds of star systems. High Commander Sisalak flicked his tongue and said, "The humans control only 3 star systems. 3. We control thousands. They are nothing to worry about." HFY raised one of his crystalline hands. The room slowly became quiet. "You are making a terrible mistake," he said. His voice was calm but carried clearly to every corner of the chamber. "I have spent 50 years studying the humans. My people have watched them since we first met them. You do not understand what they are." The room erupted in laughter. General Vorthak's forearms moved in a dismissive gesture. "Old crystal brain, you worry too much. These soft pink creatures can barely fight each other, let alone us. Their planet is not even that dangerous." HFY's crystal body grew dimmer, which was how his people showed fear or sadness. "Their planet is what you call a death world. Almost everything on it tries to kill everything else. The humans survived by becoming something special. They became persistence hunters." "What does that mean?" asked Commander Zefti of the Krill Confederation. "It means they never give up," HFY explained. "Other predators on their world were faster or stronger, but humans could run for days without stopping. They would chase their prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. They did not need to be the strongest or the fastest. They just needed to keep going longer than anything else." The Vaxan general laughed again. "So they can run for a long time, so what? Our ships are faster than any human could ever run." HFY continued as if he had not heard the interruption. "But it is not just about running. It is about how they think. When something hurts a human, they do not just get angry and attack right away. They remember. They plan, they wait, and then they act." He moved to the center of the room and activated a holographic display. Images of Earth appeared above them, its blue oceans, green continents, and white clouds. "Look at their history. They fought wars that lasted for years, sometimes decades. They would send armies across entire continents to settle grudges. They have a saying: 'Revenge is a dish best served cold.' It means they are willing to wait a very long time to get back at someone who wronged them." The display changed to show human cities, human ships, human faces. They also have another saying that should terrify you: "Hell hath no fury like a human scorned." When you take something precious from a human, when you hurt what they love, they become something different. Something dangerous. High Commander Sislak slithered closer. "You speak as if they are some kind of monsters. They look so weak and soft." "That is exactly the mistake you are about to make," HFY said urgently. "You see their soft skin and think they are weak. But humans do not rely on natural weapons. They make tools. They work together. Most importantly, they never forget and they never forgive certain kinds of wrongs." The Crystal Ambassador brought up new images, scenes from human history. "Battles, wars, conquests. Look how they wage war against each other. They do not just fight until one side wins. They fight until their enemies are completely destroyed. They have a word, genocide. It means killing every single member of an enemy group. They have done this to their own kind. Imagine what they might do to aliens who threaten them." General Vorthak was growing impatient. Enough of this fear-mongering, old one. The decision has already been made. The human colonies are rich in rare minerals that we need. Their defenses are weak. We will take what we want and they will learn their place in the galaxy. Which colonies are you planning to attack? Kethavar asked, though he seemed to already know the answer would be bad. New Eden, the general replied. It is their most prosperous colony. Taking it will send a message to all the younger species that we are still in charge of this galaxy. Kethavar's crystal body went completely dim. New Eden has families, children, hospitals, schools. Collateral damage, General Vorthak said with a shrug of his foreshoulders. If they surrender quickly, fewer will die. The old ambassador looked around the room at all the different species. Most of them seemed excited about the coming attack. A few looked uncertain, but none spoke up to support his warning. I beg you, he said one final time. Do not do this. Choose a military target. Choose an outpost with only soldiers. Do not attack civilians. Do not attack their children. If you do, you will awaken something in humanity that cannot be put back to sleep. High Commander Sisilak's serpentine laugh filled the chamber. What will they do, cry at us? Write angry letters? They barely have a dozen warships. We have thousands, the vote was called. Species after species voted in favor of the attack on New Eden. Only the Threnodi voted against it. When it was over, the combined fleet would consist of ships from 6 different galactic powers. It would be the largest military force assembled in decades. As the meeting ended and the aliens began to file out, many of them excited about the easy conquest ahead, Kethavar remained in the center of the chamber. The lights had dimmed and his crystal body reflected only shadows now. A young Threnodi aide approached him. Ambassador, what should we do? Kethavar was quiet for a long moment. We warn the humans, of course. We tell them what is coming. Will that help them? The old ambassador considered the question. No, their fleet is too small to stop this attack. New Eden will fall. Many humans will die, he paused. But maybe if we warn them, they will understand that not all of us agreed with this decision. They will need to remember who their friends are in the dark times that are coming. Dark times, Ambassador? Kethavar looked up at the holographic display still showing images of Earth. Yes, young one. Very dark times. These fools have no idea what they have just decided to do. They think they are planning a simple raid. Instead, they have chosen to wake a sleeping monster. And when humans truly go to war, the entire galaxy bleeds. 3 months after the vote in the Galactic Council, the largest alien fleet in decades moved through space toward the New Eden system. General Vorthak commanded the operation from his flagship, a massive war vessel called the Iron Fist. Around him flew ships from 6 different species, all eager to claim their share of New Eden's wealth. The planet New Eden hung in space like a blue and green jewel. It was humanity's pride, their most successful colony world. 2 million humans lived there, most of them families who had come seeking a better life among the stars. The planet had beautiful cities, vast farms, and mines that produced rare metals needed throughout the galaxy. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, one of only 8 human warships protecting New Eden. She was young for a ship captain, only 35 with short black hair and determined eyes. She had grown up on New Eden and knew every family in the main city. Captain, called out her sensor operator, Lieutenant Martinez. We're detecting massive energy signatures at the edge of the system. At least 60 ships, maybe more. Sarah's heart sank. The warning from the Threnodi had reached them 2 weeks ago, but there had been no time to evacuate everyone. The human fleet was scattered across 3 star systems, and New Eden's defenses consisted of only her 8 ships and some orbital defense platforms. All ships. This is Captain Chen, she broadcast to her small fleet. You know what we're here for. We can't win this fight, but we can make sure Earth knows what happened here. Record everything. Upload it to the quantum transmission arrays. Our families are counting on us. The alien fleet dropped out of hyperspace like a swarm of angry insects. General Vorthak's voice boomed across all frequencies in broken English. Human ships, you will surrender immediately. We claim this system for the Galactic Alliance. Resist and die. Sarah keyed her microphone. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the New Eden Defense Force. This system belongs to humanity. We will not surrender our home. What happened next was not really a battle. It was a slaughter. The alien ships outnumbered the human defenders 8-1. Their weapons were more advanced, their shields stronger. The human ships fought bravely, but they stood no chance. One by one, Sarah watched her fellow captains die. The orbital defense platforms lasted less than 10 minutes, but the worst was yet to come. As Sarah's ship, the Defiance, limped through space with failing engines and breached hull, she watched in horror as the alien fleet turned its weapons toward the planet below. Bright lances of energy reached down from space and struck the cities. "They're targeting civilians," gasped Lieutenant Martinez. "The hospitals, the schools, why are they hitting civilian targets?" Sarah understood with growing horror. This was not a military conquest. This was meant to be a lesson. The aliens wanted to show every human what happened when you defied the established galactic order. The evacuation ships that had been trying to escape were shot down one by one. Sarah watched a transport carrying 300 children from New Eden's primary school explode in a ball of fire. Another ship full of elderly patients from the central hospital was destroyed before it could reach the hyperspace jump point. "Captain," Lieutenant Martinez called out, "our engines are failing. We have hull breaches on decks 3 through 7. Life support is down to 20%. Sarah looked around her bridge. Half her crew was dead or wounded. Smoke filled the air and sparks flew from damaged control panels, but the communication system still worked. "Open a channel," she ordered. "All frequencies. Maximum broadcast range. Channel open, Captain." Sarah took a deep breath. She knew these would probably be her last words, but someone had to tell the galaxy what really happened here. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the UES Defiance. We are under attack by combined alien forces. The enemy fleet consists of ships from the Vaxan Empire, the Zelith Hegemony, and 4 other galactic powers." She paused as another explosion shook her ship. Through the view screen, she could see the alien landing ships descending toward New Eden's surface. "They are not just attacking our military forces. They are deliberately targeting hospitals, schools, and civilian evacuation ships. They are murdering children." Lieutenant Martinez grabbed her arm. "Captain, we need to abandon ship." Sarah shook him off and continued her transmission. "To anyone receiving this message, know that the people of New Eden died defending their homes. We never fired the first shot. We only wanted to live in peace." Another explosion, closer this time. "To Earth, to all human colonies, remember what they did here. Remember that they killed our children. Remember that we tried to surrender and they killed us anyway." The bridge lights flickered and went out. Emergency power kicked in, bathing everything in red light. Sarah could hear the hull beginning to crack under the pressure. "Tell them," she said, her voice growing weaker as smoke filled her lungs. "Tell them what they did to us. Tell them that New Eden died brave. And tell them—" The ship shuddered as a final enemy blast struck home. "Tell them that we will never forget." The UES Defiance broke apart in space, joining the wreckage of the rest of New Eden's defense fleet. But hidden throughout the system, small automated buoys continued to record everything. These sensors had been placed years ago as an early warning system. Now they captured every detail of the alien attack: ship signatures, weapon types, tactical formations, and most importantly, recordings of the systematic targeting of civilians. The data streamed through quantum-entangled transmitters, instantly reaching Earth and every other human colony. The galaxy's fastest communication system ensured that within hours, every human in space would know exactly what had happened at New Eden. On the planet's surface, the alien forces landed and began their occupation. They herded the surviving population into camps. The healthy adults were loaded onto slave ships to work in alien mines and factories. The children and elderly were left to die in the ruins of their cities. General Vorthak walked through the main city, stepping over the bodies of humans who had tried to protect their families. He was pleased with the operation. Minimal alien casualties, maximum psychological impact. Other young species would think twice before challenging galactic authority after seeing what happened to New Eden. "Sir," reported one of his officers, a Zelith named Siskol, "we have secured the mining facilities. The rare metal deposits are even richer than our surveys indicated. This will be very profitable." "Excellent," General Vorthak replied. "And the human survivors?" "About 400,000 still alive, sir. We have selected the strongest for slavery. The rest we will leave to maintain the basic mining operations under guard." What none of them knew was that in a hidden facility deep underground, Dr. James Park had spent the last 3 days uploading everything to Earth. Not just the battle recordings, but detailed scans of every alien ship, complete technical analysis of their weapons and shields, and most importantly, the complete personnel files of every human killed in the attack. As the quantum transmission completed, Dr. Park looked at the final file, a list of names. Every child killed in the school transport. Every patient murdered in the hospital ship. Every family torn apart by the attack. 2 million human beings reduced to digital tombstones. He added one final note to the transmission. Earth Command, this is Dr. James Park, New Eden Research Station. I am the last free human on this planet. The attached files contain complete documentation of what they did to us. Make them pay for every single name on this list. Make them pay forever. Then he deleted the transmission logs, destroyed the equipment, and walked out into the burning city to join his people in whatever fate awaited them. Back on Earth, Admiral Jiang Wei received the transmission at Earth Defense Command. She was a career military officer, 60 years old with gray-streaked hair and scars from humanity's early conflicts with space pirates. She had seen battle before. She had seen death before. But as she watched the recordings from New Eden, as she saw the school transport exploding and read the names of every murdered child, something changed inside her. Around the command center, her staff stood in shocked silence. Some were crying. Others were too angry for tears. "Ma'am," asked Colonel Roberts, her aide, "what are your orders?" Admiral Jiang Wei was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was calm and controlled, but everyone in the room felt the temperature drop.
Signal all fleet commanders.
Cancel all training exercises. Recall every ship from patrol. Redirect all civilian shipbuilding to military production. Yes, ma'am. Anything else? Jiang Wei looked at the list of names from New Eden one more time. Sarah Chen, the Martinez family. Little Amy Foster, age 6. Dr. Elizabeth Stone, who had spent her life healing others. All dead, all murdered, yes, she said quietly. Send a message to every human colony, every ship, every station. Tell them what happened here, and tell them we are going to war. 6 months had passed since the destruction of New Eden. The alien forces that had carried out the attack expected swift retaliation from the humans. They prepared for desperate fleet battles, for frontal assaults on their positions, for the kind of obvious military response that most species made when attacked. Instead, something far more terrifying began to happen, something they were not prepared for. It started small. A Vaxxan patrol fleet of 12 ships was conducting routine operations in the Outer Rim territories, far from any human colonies. They were investigating reports of pirate activity near the trade routes. Captain Gorthak commanded the patrol from his heavy cruiser, confident in his fleet's ability to handle any threat. "Sir," reported his communications officer, "we are losing contact with the scout ships." Captain Gorthak turned his forearms toward the tactical display. 3 of his fastest ships had been checking nearby asteroid fields. Their signals had simply stopped. No distress calls, no battle reports. They were just gone. "Send the remaining scouts to investigate," he ordered. 2 more ships moved toward the last known position of their missing comrades. Their transmissions lasted exactly 14 minutes. Then they too fell silent. Captain Gorthak was now down to 7 ships out of 12. He had not seen an enemy, had not detected any weapons fire, had not even received a single transmission from whatever was picking off his fleet piece by piece. "All ships, form defensive formation," he broadcast to his remaining vessels. "Something is hunting us." The Vaxxan fleet pulled together into a tight group, all weapons powered and shields raised. They scanned space around them with every sensor they had. Nothing. Empty. Space in all directions. That's when they found the message. Buoy. It was floating exactly where the first 3 scout ships had disappeared. A simple communication device broadcasting on all frequencies in perfect galactic standard language. "You took our children. We remember." Captain Gorthak stared at the message display. "Humans," he whispered. "But how did they get here? Our sensors show no ships, no energy signatures, no—" His tactical officer interrupted. "Sir, I'm detecting movement in the asteroid field." Multiple contacts, very small, moving fast. On the display screen, dozens of tiny objects began emerging from hiding places among the rocks. They were too small to be ships, too fast to be missiles, and they moved with an intelligence that suggested they were controlled by living beings. "What are those things?" demanded the captain. His answer came in the form of coordinated strikes against his remaining ships. The small objects, which intelligence would later identify as single-person stealth fighters, attacked with precision and then vanished back into the asteroids before the Vaxxan weapons could target. Then within an hour, Captain Gorthek's flagship was the only vessel left. His crew was dead or wounded, his engines were failing, and he was trapped in a field of floating debris that had once been his fleet. A new message appeared on his communication screen. This one was personal, addressed directly to him. Captain, you were at New Eden. We have video recordings of your ship firing on our hospital ship. Do you remember the patients you killed? We do. Their names were Maria Santos, age 74, James Chen, age 41, Little Susan Park, age 8, recovering from surgery. We remember all of them. We remember you too. The message continued. You will live. You will return to your people. You will tell them what happened here, and you will tell them that this is only the beginning. Captain Gorthak was found 3 days later by a Vaxan rescue fleet, alone on his heavily damaged ship. His report to High Command was dismissed as the ravings of a traumatized survivor. But similar incidents began happening across the galaxy. A Zenith mining operation in the Kepler system went silent. When investigators arrived, they found the facility intact but completely empty. Every worker, every guard, every administrator had simply vanished. The only clue was a message carved into the facility's main computer core in precise lettering. Here worked Slave Master Ceciloth, who purchased 47 children from New Eden. We found him. A joint military base on the border between Vaxan and Zenith territory reported strange malfunctions. Their long-range sensors were going dark one by one. Their patrol ships were returning to base with no memory of what they had seen during their missions. Security cameras showed brief glimpses of figures in strange armor, moving through areas that should have been impossible to reach. Then the base commander found a datapad on his private desk, in his locked office, protected by the most advanced security systems in the galaxy. The message was simple. We have been watching you for 15 years. We know about your secret weapons research. We know about the New Eden planning meetings. We know where you live. We know where your family lives. We are everywhere, and we are patient. The reports flooded in from across the galaxy, ghost ships appearing in systems where no human vessels should exist, space stations going dark for hours and then coming back online with no explanation, military installations reporting equipment failures that somehow left their computers filled with detailed intelligence about human colony locations, intelligence that had supposedly been classified. At the highest levels, General Vorthak himself received a personal visit in his private quarters on the Vaxan homeworld. He woke one morning to find a human sitting in a chair beside his sleeping alcove. The figure wore strange dark armor and a helmet that concealed his face. General, the human said in perfect Vaxan language, my name is Colonel Harrison. I was Captain Sarah Chen's instructor at the Naval Academy. She was one of my best students. General Vorthak reached for the alarm button beside his bed, but the human held up a hand. Your security system has been disabled. Your guards are unconscious but unharmed. I am not here to kill you, General. I am here to deliver a message. The human leaned forward. We know you gave the order to target the civilian evacuation ships. We have recordings of your voice commanding your ships to fire on children. We know about your family too, General. Your son attends the Advanced Military Academy. Your mate works at the Cultural Center. Your elderly father lives in the Veterans Retirement Complex. Vorthak's forearms trembled with rage and fear. You threaten my family? You dare? I do not threaten, General. I promise. We will not harm them. That would make us like you. Instead, we want you to think about them. Every day for the rest of your life, you will wonder if we are watching. You will wonder if the stranger in the market is one of us. You will wonder if your communications are secure, if your home is safe, if your children are truly protected. The human stood to leave. We want you to live with the same fear our people lived with when they saw your ships approaching New Eden. The difference is that our fear lasted only a few hours. Yours will last forever. Colonel Harrison walked toward the window. Oh, and General? You will find a gift on your desk. Pictures of every child who died on the transport ships. Learn their names. We know you never bothered to count them. We counted them. We remember every single one. The human opened the window and stepped out onto a narrow ledge 30 stories above the ground. By the time General Vorthak reached the window, the figure had vanished into the night. The reports continued for months. Human intelligence networks that had apparently been in place for decades suddenly activated. Sleeper agents revealed themselves in the most secure facilities. Long-range scout ships that had been dismissed as harmless civilian explorers turned out to have been mapping alien territories and recording military capabilities. High Commander Sarlacc of the Zalith received a comprehensive report from his intelligence service. The findings were terrifying. Humanity had been preparing for this possibility for over 50 years. Every trade mission, every cultural exchange, every peaceful diplomatic contact had also been a reconnaissance mission. The humans knew the location of every military base, every government building, every important installation across 6 different alien civilizations. They had detailed maps of transportation networks, communication systems, and supply chains. They had identified key individuals in military and political leadership, and had been monitoring their personal lives for years. Most frighteningly, they had done all of this while maintaining completely normal diplomatic relations. Human ambassadors had shaken hands with alien leaders while human intelligence operatives mapped their palaces. Human merchants had sold goods in alien markets while human agents counted weapons and recorded security procedures. How long have they been watching us? Commander Sarlacc asked his intelligence chief. Based on the evidence, sir, since first contact. Maybe longer? It appears that every human ship that ever entered our space was gathering intelligence, even the ones we thought were just lost explorers or merchant vessels. The commander's serpentine body coiled with anxiety. And their capabilities? Unknown, sir. They have assets we never suspected existed, ships that can avoid our sensors, agents who can penetrate our most secure facilities, communication networks that we cannot detect or intercept. We estimate they know more about our military capabilities than we know about theirs. The galaxy was learning a hard truth about humanity. They had looked at humans and seen a young species with primitive technology and small fleets. 5 years had passed since New Eden burned. The galaxy had changed in ways that the alien powers could never have imagined. The great trade routes that had connected civilizations for thousands of years now stood empty. Military fleets that had once patrolled vast territories now huddled around their homeworlds like frightened children. Captain Maria Santos of the stealth ship UES Nemesis drifted silently through space near the Kepler 442 system. Her ship was invisible to most sensors, painted black as the void and equipped with technology that had been developed specifically for humanity's new kind of warfare. Around her, the bridge crew worked quietly, their movements precise and practiced. "Captain?" whispered her tactical officer, Lieutenant Kim. "We have visual confirmation on the target." On the main screen appeared the massive orbital shipyard that had built many of the vessels used in the New Eden attack. The facility was enormous, capable of constructing dozens of warships simultaneously. Before the war, it had employed over 50,000 workers from multiple species. Now it was almost empty. "How many ships in the area?" Captain Santos asked. "Only 6 patrol vessels, ma'am. Most of their fleet has been recalled to defend the homeworld." Santos nodded. This was the pattern they had seen throughout the galaxy. The alien powers had pulled their forces back to protect their most important worlds, abandoning their outer territories to human raiders. It was exactly what Admiral Zhang Wei had predicted. "Remember the mission parameters," Santos told her crew. "We are not here to kill anyone if we can avoid it. We are here to take away their ability to build ships that could threaten human civilians. Weapons free, but target only facilities and equipment." The Nemesis moved closer to the shipyard. Around the captain, her crew prepared for what they called a ghost strike, an attack so swift and precise that the enemy would barely have time to understand what was happening. The first sign of trouble for the shipyard came when their long-range sensors simply shut down. Not destroyed, not damaged, just turned off. The humans had developed ways to hack into alien computer systems that the original builders had never imagined possible. Next, the patrol ships found that their engines would not start. Their weapon systems displayed error messages in languages they did not recognize. Their communication arrays began broadcasting old Earth music instead of military signals. Then the real attack began. The Nemesis launched a swarm of micro-drones, each one no larger than a human fist but packed with sophisticated electronics. The drones moved through the shipyard like a school of mechanical fish, seeking out specific targets, construction equipment, computer cores, power generators, and most importantly, the massive automated systems that did most of the actual shipbuilding. Within 30 minutes, the shipyard that had taken decades to build was reduced to a hollow shell. The structure itself remained intact. The humans had no interest in killing the workers. Inside, none but every piece of equipment that could BUs to build warships had been surgically removed or disabled. As the Nemesis prepared to leave, Captain Santos activated the facility's communication system. Her message was broadcast throughout the system. This facility built the ships that murdered the children of New Eden. It will never build ships again. New Eden remembers. The attack on Kepler 442 was just one of hundreds happening across the galaxy. Human forces had identified every major military production facility, every strategic resource depot, every key installation that supported alien military power, and one by one they were making them disappear. The humans did not try to hold territory. They did not establish occupation forces. They simply arrived without warning, eliminated their targets with surgical precision, and vanished back into the darkness between stars. It was impossible to defend against because it was impossible to predict where they would strike next. Admiral Zhang Wei stood in the command center on Earth, studying a holographic map of the galaxy. Red dots marked alien military installations. Over the past 5 years, thousands of those dots had changed from red to gray, indicating targets that had been neutralized. "Admiral," reported Colonel Roberts, "Phase 2 is now 87% complete. Enemy deep space capabilities have been reduced to less than 20% of pre-war levels." "And their response?" Zhang Wei asked. "They are pulling everything back to their core systems. Most of their remaining fleets are now concentrated around their homeworlds. Some species have stopped sending ships beyond their own solar systems entirely." Zhang Wei studied the map. The alien empires that had once controlled hundreds of star systems were now effectively trapped on their own planets. "Good. That is exactly what we wanted. Have there been any attempts at negotiation?" "Several, ma'am. The Threnodi have been acting as intermediaries. The other species want to discuss terms for ending the conflict." "And what terms are they offering?" Colonel Roberts consulted his datapad. "Complete withdrawal from New Eden, reparations for the survivors, return of all human captives, and formal recognition of human territorial claims." Admiral Zhang Wei was quiet for a moment. To most observers, these would seem like generous terms. The aliens were offering to give back everything they had taken and more. But Zhang Wei remembered the recordings from New Eden. She remembered the transport full of children exploding. She remembered Captain Sarah Chen's final transmission. "Tell the Threnodi that we appreciate their efforts," she said finally, "but also tell them that the aliens misunderstand the situation. They think this is a negotiation. It is not. This is a lesson." "Ma'am?" Zhang Wei turned to face her staff. "The aliens attacked our civilians because they thought we were weak. They targeted our children because they thought we would surrender to protect them. They need to learn that some actions have permanent consequences." She walked to the observation window that looked out over Earth's orbital defense stations. "Begin Phase 3. I want every alien military asset outside their home systems eliminated. Every listening post, every supply depot, every patrol route, every single installation that allows them to project power beyond their own planets." "Admiral, that could take decades to complete." "Good," Zhang Wei replied. "Let it take decades. Let their children grow up never seeing their military operate beyond their own solar systems. Let them spend the next 50 years afraid to send a ship into deep space. Let them understand that when you murder human children, the consequences last for generations." The room was quiet for a moment. Then Colonel Roberts asked, "And after Phase 3? Admiral Zhang Wei smiled, but it was not a pleasant expression. "After Phase 3, we wait. We keep watching them. We make sure they remember why they are trapped on their homeworlds. And if they ever forget, if they ever think they can venture out and threaten human colonies again, we remind them." Meanwhile, in the Vaxen capital city, General Vorthak sat in his office reviewing intelligence reports that grew more disturbing each day. His mighty empire, which had once controlled over 300 star systems, was now effectively reduced to 12 worlds clustered around their home system. "Sir," reported his aide, Colonel Drathk, "we have lost contact with the mining operation at Ross 47. "Pirates?" the general asked, though he already knew the answer. "No, sir. Same pattern as the others. All personnel and equipment simply gone. No signs of struggle, no debris. The only thing left behind was a message in the main computer. This facility used slave labor from New Eden. Operations permanently terminated." General Vorthak put his head in his 4 hands. "How many installations have we lost this month?" 17, sir. All military or resource extraction facilities. They are not touching civilian settlements, just anything that supports our ability to project power. The general walked to his window and looked out over the capital city. Once this view had filled him with pride. The tall buildings, the bustling traffic, the sense of being at the center of a galactic empire. Now he felt like he was looking out from a prison. Sir, Colonel Drathic continued, there is something else. Our psychologists have completed their analysis of the human behavioral patterns, and they believe the humans are implementing what they call a persistence predation strategy on a galactic scale. Instead of trying to defeat us in a single large battle, they are slowly wearing us down over time. They are willing to spend decades or even centuries to achieve their goals. General Vorthak turned from the window. Decades? Centuries? Yes, sir. Their attacks are carefully coordinated to gradually reduce our capabilities while avoiding major confrontations. They are patient in a way that most species cannot comprehend. Our analysts believe they will continue this strategy until we are completely unable to threaten any human colony. And how long will that take? Colonel Drathic hesitated. At the current rate, sir, we will lose the ability to operate beyond our home system within the next 15 years. If they continue to target our resource extraction facilities, we will not be able to maintain even our defensive fleets indefinitely. General Vorthak sat down heavily in his chair. He thought about Captain Chen's final words from New Eden. Tell them that we will never forget. At the time, he had dismissed it as the desperate threat of a dying enemy. Now he understood that it had been a promise. 20 years had passed since the attack on New Eden. An entire generation of aliens had grown up in a galaxy where humans were the monsters that haunted the darkness between stars. Children of species that had once conquered worlds now trembled at bedtime stories about the silent ships that came in the night. Ambassador Kethvar was ancient now, even by the standards of his long-lived people. His crystal body had grown pale and cloudy with age, but his mind remained sharp. He sat in his private quarters aboard a neutral space station, waiting for a meeting that he both hoped for and dreaded. The message had come through diplomatic channels. Admiral Jiang Wei wanted to talk. After 20 years of silence from humanity except for the constant, methodical dismantling of alien military power, the humans were ready for conversation. Kethvar was not sure if that was good news or bad news. The door to his quarters opened and Admiral Jiang Wei entered alone. She was older now, her hair completely gray, her face marked by the years of commanding humanity's longest war, but her eyes still held the same cold determination that had terrified the galaxy for 2 decades. Admiral, Kethvar said, rising from his chair with some difficulty. Thank you for agreeing to this meeting. Jiang Wei sat down across from him. Ambassador, your people have remained neutral throughout this conflict. More than that, you tried to prevent it. We have not forgotten. And I have not forgotten the warnings I failed to deliver convincingly, Kethvar replied. If I had been more persuasive, perhaps New Eden would still be alive. They sat in silence for a moment. Outside the viewport, space was dark and empty. Once this area had been busy with trade ships and military patrols. Now it was a void where only the bravest merchants dared to travel, and never alone. Ambassador, Jiang Wei said finally, the other species have been asking you to mediate. They want to know what it will take to end this conflict? Yes, they have offered everything they think you might want. Complete reparations, return of all territory, formal apologies, even the execution of the commanders who ordered the attack on New Eden. And what do you think our answer will be? Kethvar's crystal form dimmed. I think your answer will be that none of that matters anymore. Admiral Jiang Wei nodded slowly. You understand us better than they do. She stood and walked to the viewport, looking out at the empty space. 20 years ago, they made a decision. They decided that human lives were worth less than their political goals. They decided that our children were acceptable casualties. They decided to teach us fear through violence. And you decided to teach them fear through patience, Kethvar observed. Yes, and it has been very effective. Jiang Wei turned back to the old ambassador. The Vaxan Empire has not sent a single ship beyond their home system in 8 years. The Zealoth have abandoned over 90% of their territory. The Krill Confederation disbanded their military entirely, rather than continue losing ships they could never replace. Kethvar accessed his personal records. My intelligence reports suggest that combined, the 6 species that attacked New Eden now control less territory than they did 500 years ago. Their ability to project power has been reduced to almost nothing. Almost, Zhang Wei agreed, but not nothing. Which is why the hunt continues. The ambassador felt a chill that had nothing to do with the station's temperature. Admiral, surely after 20 years the lesson has been learned. Their military capabilities are negligible. They pose no threat to human colonies. They pose no threat today, Zhang Wei corrected. But what about tomorrow? What about 50 years from now? When a new generation of aliens decides that humans have grown weak? What about 100 years from now? When someone finds our old ships and thinks they can reverse engineer better technology? She returned to her seat. Ambassador, my species evolved as persistence hunters. Do you know what that means? I know the concept, but please explain. It means we never stop hunting. Other predators on our world would chase prey until it ran faster or fought harder. Then they would give up and look for easier targets. But humans never gave up. We would follow injured prey for days, weeks even, until it finally collapsed from exhaustion or blood loss. Zhang Wei leaned forward. The species that attacked New Eden wounded us. They killed our children. Now we are following the scent of that wound across the galaxy, and we will never stop. Kethvar was quiet for a long moment. What you are describing is not warfare, Admiral. It is a generational curse. Yes, Zhang Wei said simply. That is exactly what it is. The old ambassador accessed another file. I have reports of human activities that go far beyond military targets now. Supply ships disappearing on civilian routes, research stations going dark. Even cultural centers have been visited by your people. We are being thorough, Zhang Wei admitted. Every facility that has ever supported their military, every installation that could be converted to military use, every person who was involved in planning or executing the attack on New Eden. We track them all. And their families? Their children? Admiral Zhang Wei's expression did not change. We do not harm innocents, but we watch them. We want every alien parent to explain to their children why they cannot travel freely in space. We want every alien child to grow up understanding that their elders brought this darkness upon them. She stood again and walked to a different viewport. Ambassador, let me show you something. The viewport displayed a tactical map of local space. Red dots showed alien military installations, green dots showed human colonies, and white dots showed neutral territory. This is what space looked like 25 years ago, Zhang Wei said. Red dots filled the display, showing massive alien military presence throughout the galaxy. The display changed. This is what space looks like today. The red dots had almost completely vanished. Only a few remained, clustered tightly around alien homeworlds. The green dots representing human colonies had spread throughout the area that had once been alien territory. We have not conquered these systems, Zhang Wei explained. We have simply made them too dangerous for alien military forces to occupy. Our ships move through these regions freely, but theirs do not. Kethavar studied the display with growing horror. Admiral, you have effectively imprisoned entire civilizations on their own planets. Yes, and we intend to keep them there. For how long? Admiral Zhang Wei looked at him with eyes that had seen 20 years of methodical warfare. Forever, Ambassador. We will hunt them forever. She returned to her seat. Every generation of humans will be taught what happened at New Eden. Every class of naval officers will study the recordings of Captain Chen's final transmission. Every child will learn the names of the murdered innocents. We will never forget, and we will never forgive. Kethvar felt his crystal body growing dimmer with despair. But surely, Admiral, at some point the cost of this eternal vigilance will become too great. Your people will want to return to peaceful pursuits. Zhang Wei shook her head. You misunderstand us, Ambassador. This is not a burden for my people. This is who we have become. The attack on New Eden did not just kill our colonists. It transformed our entire species. She activated a personal communication device and spoke briefly in English. Moments later, a young human officer entered the room. He was probably in his early 30s, which meant he had been a child when New Eden was destroyed. Ambassador Kethvar, this is Captain Marcus Chen. He commands one of our deep space reconnaissance vessels. The young captain nodded respectfully to the alien diplomat. Kethvar noticed that his uniform bore a patch with names written in small text, hundreds of names. Captain Chen's ship monitors Vaxen space, Admiral Zhang Wei explained. He ensures that their fleets remain confined to their home system. Captain, how long have you been on this assignment? 8 years, Admiral. My ship and crew maintain constant surveillance of their military capabilities. We know the name and specifications of every ship in their fleet, the identity of every commander, the location of every supply depot. And how long do you plan to continue this mission, Captain? The young officer looked confused by the question. For as long as necessary, Admiral. The standing orders are clear. Maintain the containment until further notice. Kethvar realized something that chilled him. Captain, you were not even an adult when New Eden was attacked. Why is this mission important to you? Captain Chen's expression hardened. Because they murdered my aunt ambassador, Captain Sarah Chen of the UES Defiance. I grew up learning about her courage, her sacrifice, and her final words. Every person on my ship knows her story. We consider ourselves guardians of her memory. After the captain left, Admiral Zhang Wei and Ambassador Kethvar sat in silence again. You see, Ambassador, this is not just a military policy that might change with new leadership or political shifts. This has become part of human culture. Parents tell their children about New Eden. Teachers include it in history lessons. Military academies use it as the foundation of strategic training. And each generation passes the hatred to the next, Kethvar said sadly. Not hatred, Zhang Wei corrected. Memory, vigilance. The understanding that some enemies can never be trusted to change. The aliens who attacked New Eden proved that they were willing to murder children to achieve their goals. That is not the kind of enemy you forgive and forget,